Hi everyone, welcome back to Mike on Mike. Let's check out the films that came out on Friday and see if they popped or flopped. So, Backrooms is incredibly in first place. This is so awesome for A24, especially for Kane Pixels himself. And then in second place, which is the saddest and or funniest thing, depending on how you look at it, but man, that's Star Wars. Mandalorian and Grogu not having a good time. I mean it should be further along, and apparently now it's I think what is it the first movie to last less than a week at the box office or something for a Star Wars film, which is bad news. And then the Breadwinner is down here in fifth place. That's kind of interesting. I did say the Backrooms was gonna be top 10. So it's first. Although I don't understand this chart because I'm pretty sure Obsession was number 1. Unless this is a new update, I guess. Because I thought they said Obsession is in first place. So this is Box Office Mojo. The numbers.com is having an issue right now, so they seem to be really more more accurate than Office Mojo here. So it might be. I thought Obsession is in first place. So the Breadwinner, that one came in fifth place. I did say the Backroom was going to make 50 million. It made 81. That's pretty incredible. The Breadwinner, $7 million, I guess. We could check it out specifically. Here is the Breadwinner. This one, I saw 7 million. Not amazing. That's, I don't know. Yeah, that might not really turn out well for this film. It does look like on Rotten Tomatoes, it's not doing well. Like, it's actually not a good movie. But, I mean, it did come in fifth place. See, that's what I'm saying. It looks like a fun family film, and possibly it's just not good. So that could really be the issue with this. It's in 3,000 theaters, an hour and 40 minutes. It's got some good positives for what it is, It's not rated R. Oh, it's accessible for everybody, and it's comedy family, and that's pretty cool, But I guess the story is probably not all there. But yeah, I did get into the fifth place, so pretty interesting stuff. So that's awesome for that movie. It should, I don't think it's probably gonna eventually fall off, right? So I don't know. The other film is Pressure, which is in eighth place. It made $5 million. Wow. Well, that's not really amazing. They did say that it was gonna flop 30 million. And be in the top 20. So it's definitely in the top 20. And it's way far from 30 million. Here is, I guess, the final numbers for Pressure. So 5 million. Not in a lot of theaters. It's an hour and 40 minutes, which is what I was saying, is that it's a quicker kind of a watch, than Oppenheimer. I guess Napoleon. I don't know if Napoleon went for the art angle that Oppenheimer went for. Oppenheimer also has this kind of dramatic sort of artistic edge to it or something. You know what I mean? Especially from Christopher Nolan. I guess specifically visual wise, probably, but you know what I mean. Yeah, and then Napoleon was kind of grand, but it changed some things, I guess. And then Nuremberg, 3 hours long, but it was PG-13. So that's kind of nice that this movie is based off a big deal, something historical that happened. but it's shown in kind of a quick, just like get to the point sort of a way, I guess. Yeah, that is the third film. We'll check the specific Backrooms right now. So this is the results for Backrooms at 3,442 theaters. And this is wow, that's actually kind of interesting. An hour and 50 minutes. Wow. I guess it's doing well. It seems like the end isn't amazing. I don't know. So, let's see. But yeah, $81 million domestic. International 36. That's interesting. Yeah, I guess it's not really a big thing. And then overall, I guess 118. Wonder when this is gonna end. I mean, it's probably gonna end at what, $300 or $400 million? I don't know. What do you think? Obsession is probably gonna make a lot of money. Okay, Backrooms is the first film. This, I guess, is doing very well. That's so incredible. I guess it really is. I guess the budget is 10 million. I think A24 hasn't officially released everything yet, all the numbers and all that. So we're just thinking, like, apparently, I guess they had the only way that they could do this film is because they weren't able to find out who the actual creator of the idea is. Apparently, so they had to go with what King Parsons came up with so that it's distinct, like in a copyright way, I think. Because basically it's like, who owns the concept of, I mean, I don't, rooms or whatever, but like this concept is basically, I mean, if we're going with what those videos explained it as, it's like a pocket universe, right? Or whatever. Or it's this space that this company has been putting stuff in it, whatever. It explains it more in there. It's I guess it's kind of simple, but at the same time, it's kind of like complex, which is pretty cool. And people are saying that maybe the second one is gonna maybe delve more into that, find out more of that, which is like what I was saying is like, is that a spoiler? Like, if you watch all of the explanation videos and stuff talking about all of those things, don't you think, like, they ever do that and reveal that, well, then it's not really, like, you've already seen it, Like, it's maybe like Santa, like, we know he's not real, but it's like, let's just stick with, like, have a movie and pretend that's him, you know what I mean? No, it's funny that like Project Hail Mary has an eight stars, and then this, which I mean that is good too. But if this is really apparently that good, shouldn't it be a little bit higher? I think what it is like the reality is that that this is A24, right? That they have a hit or miss kind of a reputation, but that this is also the apparently the end is a little weird. Some people are saying, I don't know, people are kind of mixed on the end. So it's kind of like everything has something wrong, right? Like Spider Noir should have or could have apparently been released episodically or weekly, you know what I mean? And it would have built suspense for the next one rather than just dumping all 8 at once, as well as their choice to make it in color and not trust that people are gonna want to watch it in black and white, even though it's literally Spider Noir. It's not Spider Color. So it's kind of hilarious that, like, it's like if you watch an old movie, it's grainy and maybe it's square, maybe it's 4:3 or, some format like that. It's not wide. So you have to deal with that. That's the movie, It's, you know what I mean? Like, they've restored it in color, some movies, but they don't look right. And I feel like, it's like every film basically is what I'm saying is that it has an issue. Spider Noir should have been released every week, maybe not even bothered with the color thing. And then this film has an issue, even though it's really good. What I'm saying is like Spider Noir is really good, it has a problem. This is really good, it has a problem. You know, the end isn't perfect. Even like the drama, I heard like the drama has a weird end, right? It's really good, but the end is kind of like, eh. So it's kind of interesting. I mean, that's a big deal. How do you end your film? You know, do you end it with the twist being revealed? Do you end it with after like an hour later the twist has been revealed and now we're on to another twist? Is it, you know, the big finale and the climax is with the twist or whatever, or the twist and then the climax and then the end, and you know what I mean? So there's all these ways to do it, and I guess like with this, think about like and Backrooms. How like do you know how many you could go in so many directions. I'm sure there's not a million directions, but there's probably a lot of directions, you know? And among those choices are things like, do we reveal everything now? It's Backrooms, it's the first movie. Do we reveal everything now? Half of the audience knows what's going on. The other half doesn't. I don't know, you know what I mean? More or less. So it's kind of interesting that, you know, yeah, this had to do a lot of choices, you know, like when was it set? You know, it's better to have it set then than it is to have it set now in like 2026 or something like that, or in the future even. So they went back to the 90s. So that was good, you know. If it was made today, it probably would have a plot hole of, hey, what about a phone call, you know, or I don't know, something like that. Yeah, so that's interesting. At least this is kind of honest. Like I was saying, Project Hail Mary is a 7.2 maybe, 7.3, I don't know, you know what I mean? 7 stars, because it's missing some things. It's not perfect. No, it's like, if this is really that good, if Backrooms is really that good and has one issue, then everybody should give it 8.3, right? You know what I mean? What? It doesn't have an adorable Grogu in it. It doesn't have a Rocky in it. It doesn't have, you know what I mean? So I don't understand that. Project Hail Mary, to me, had issues in it, and they didn't explain it, but I read other stuff, and I was like, oh, it's all explained in the book. Well, why? Come on. They could include all of that, you know? Yeah, anyway, so that's kind of interesting. Yeah, I like that the rating is kind of honest, because it seems very good. It seems like it's going to be very entertaining. And then like they're saying is, yeah, it probably doesn't end in the best of ways. And I already heard that like the psychiatrist part, that lady, she's not really necessary. I don't know, you know, and it's kind of interesting, all the other stuff. Even the writer, Kane Parsons, was paired up with this Will Sudick to kind of help out in a way, you know, and people are saying some parts, like the dialogue, seems like it's written, you know, by an amateur writer in a way, or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, rather than like a polished kind of a you know, dialogue, I guess, or something. So it has 700 reviews. The AI summary is saying, reviewers say Backrooms delivers stunning cinematography and incredible eerie atmosphere that effectively builds psychological dread without relying on jump scares. Chiwetel Ejiofor's performance anchors the film emotionally, and Kane Parsons' directorial debut impresses fans of the source material. However, the writing disappoints with minimal plot and unclear motivations, while the excruciatingly slow pacing proves divisive. Some found it captivating, but many were bored throughout. The film's horror effectiveness remains highly subjective. Oh, okay. Well, that's an interesting summary. Falls flat in the third act. See, even like Matt Reeves' The Batman, people love it. Like it has like created such a fan base that people are waiting the Batman Part 2, right? But like this guy just said, Matt Reeves' The Batman has an issue in the third act. Isn't that weird? And people agree. A majority of people agree. That's so interesting. So it has 718 reviews. Let's see. The first one is 8 out of 10. Really impressed. I really thought this movie was amazing from the beginning. You get that nostalgic feeling. And the first time the main characters enters the Backrooms, you feel that weird feeling that changes your mood. I think Kane did an amazing job creating that old Backrooms feel by adding the home video footage and by adding the beginning segment as a scary but cool Backrooms investigation. I do feel as if the third act does get a little weird and the entities could be a little more lore accurate. But besides that, the movie is definitely 8 out of 10 on my list. Yeah, that's good. I like that this guy is honest though, you know, like rather than just not admitting it, you know. So that's good. 8 out of 10, trippy. Not for everyone. A lot of non-thinking NPCs will dismiss it. I love the lore. Kid is only 20 and knocked it out of the park. Sweet ode to San Jose. Last image will inspire debates and diverse ending explanations. See? Hoping for a sequel. Legit chicken skin moments for a grown-ass man that grew up on Jason and Freddy. I went in fresh, knew nothing of the YouTube stuff, and it stood on its own. Well, that is really cool. Pretty awesome. 10 out of 10, the cold open lets you know you're in for a ride. To start off, I'm a big fan of the Backrooms concept and Keith Parsons' YouTube video series. I follow the lore deeply, and play many of the games on the subject. I was nervous if I was only going to like this film because I'm such a fan of the topic and the guy directing it. But my worries were quickly put away with the cold open. It was basically another one of Kane's videos just on the big screen. And it was absolutely everything. It was everything I love about what he does. I don't think a single time in the film I was not captivated. The found footage is done so well. I know the genre of that is a bit burnt out, but the film mixes the cam recording with the actual live action so well that I can't imagine how you could have done it any better. And the suspense that was built up in some scenes was so intense, it had me squirming in my chair. I was so nervous. Aside from one off-screen death, a few talking scenes that needed some different camera angles to cut up the monotony. That's what I was saying. And the movie going on for a bit too long. Wow, giving it a bit of an abrupt ending. What? Oh, wait. And the movie going on for a little bit too long. Giving it a bit of an abrupt ending. One that feels very much like I was asking for a sequel. It was such cinema. Wow, an hour and 50 minutes is a bit too long. Well, that's just funny. Jeez. Okay, I'm here complaining about 2 hour or 2.5 movie, 2.5 hour movies. And an hour and 50 minutes is actually too long. That's, I don't know what to say. Pretty funny. I do agree the interview, whatever that scene was, the psychiatrist scene, needs an angle or two. But again, it's got to be on purpose. It's obviously like a lingering camera shot for a feeling, you know? 7 out of 10, watching a wall was more interesting? Oh no. Now here's probably a realistic review. 7 out of 10, watching a wall was more interesting. The Backrooms delivers some genuinely impressive visuals. The environments are well-crafted, atmospheric, and clearly show the amount of effort that went into bringing the famous internet concept to the big screen. The acting is decent and does its job, but the biggest issue for me is the story. It feels surprisingly slow and conversation-heavy to the point where I found myself more interested in staring at the cinema wall than following parts of the plot. Instead of fully embracing the terrifying and mysterious potential of the Backrooms, the film often feels like a smaller, safer version of what it could have been. That said, I don't understand that the studio is relatively small. Oh, wait, that said, I understand that the studio is relatively small. The director is still very young, which makes the technical achievements even more impressive. There is definitely talent on display here, and I respect the ambition behind the project. What I think that A24 does is what I'm saying is that they just allow the artist to do what they do, and they do run it through kind of like an A24 filter is what I call it. You know, like Marty Supreme. I forgot what else. They have this trippy, Uncut Gems. They have this trippy kind of dream-like feel to them. You know, like is it happening? Is it not? It's real. You know, like, is it, is it actually happening, and is it heightened or exaggerated, whatever. I guess maybe like Euphoria, I guess, in a way, but which is A24 too. Oh, that's funny. That was accidental, but so that's funny. I think that the issues are because they let Kane Parsons be Kane Parsons. They're the guy that was attached to help write. I'm sure he was there for Kane Parsons to ask questions rather than the director telling Kane Parsons what to do. I think that if that would have happened, it was too perfect for a first-time writer, director, whatever. And it would have been too obvious that, like, hey, did somebody else write this? It's too perfect. So maybe that is why the Backrooms has an ending like that. Maybe it was, chosen, or it was allowed to be like that because that's what Kane Parsons wanted. And they needed to let Kane Parsons, be the one in charge. A24 provided everything, the cameras and everything and the money. But they don't want to interfere and be like, hey, Kane, do this, do that, do this. We don't like this, do that, do this. Can you change that? We really want you to change that. You know what I mean? So I think that's really good. And I think that is the reason why it's not perfect. If it was perfect, like Kane Parsons, if he keeps going, his films will become perfect. He will make a perfect film. Let's see. So 9 out of 10, worth watching. A creepy, original, unsettling, and trippy. 1 out of 10, the great disappointment. I'm going to read this one. So bad. Feels so long. After 1 hour of room walking, I wanted to leave my local cinema. 45 minutes in, the movie was the people who left the movie. They was the lucky ones. Okay. But I wanted a twisted ending, but only disappointment. The acting was on the spot, but if they just have to wander around the back rooms. Okay, well, that's interesting. That is interesting. He did kind of like it, though. Wait, what did it say? Yeah, the acting was spot. So he did kind of like it, though. It's just other than like what it built up to, he's going off of that rather than like it built up to not an amazing thing, but yeah, it was good, so good. Immersive and brilliant, 9 out of 10. Good movie to watch. 10 out of 10. Kane Parsons, bravo. 9 out of 10. Nothing bad to say about it. 9 out of 10. More than a horror movie, a surreal piece of art. 6 out of 10. Good movie, but needs some answers. I think another thing is that in order to have future films, you can't do everything in one. I'm sure Kane Parsons was like, at this point, he is kind of a professional in a way. You know what I mean? He knows at this point, like, okay, move this there, whatever. Rather than like, if he didn't know, like, oh man, I have 3 endings. Okay, I'm gonna go with this one, and it was a bad ending. You know what I mean? So, but I guess I know in some people's opinion, it is kind of a bad thing, whatever. But maybe he wanted, like, I guess what I'm also saying is that he could have answered everything. The end could have been, hey, guess what? This is the Backrooms. And it's like, oh, okay, well, we're good on a sequel. We don't need to know anymore. Or too much. You showed too much. It's a tough one. But you can't please everyone. And so you got to do what's going to hopefully do the best. And he probably had 2 other endings, and this was the best one, The other one was too spoilery of the whole thing, maybe, too, you know what I mean? Anything, really. And then this is probably the best one, so. 2 out of 10. Don't watch this. Jesus. Really a waste of money. The horror is basically non-existent. Nothing makes sense. The first half is a sleeper, and while I get the idea behind what it was supposed to be, it just didn't work out well. I was tired of this movie 30 minutes in. Don't waste your money or time on such garbage. I can't believe people rate this above 6 stars. It couldn't have been so much better if the story wasn't all over the place. Oh, it could have been so much better if the story wasn't all over the place. The only reason I give it 2 stars is because the idea of the distortion and derealization had potential, but the rest wasn't good. Well, very interesting. Here are the Rotten Tomatoes for Backrooms. They have it, wow, amazing on both sides. It was certified fresh on Friday, so it now has 90% from the critics and 74% from the audience. The critics' consensus: a startling, assured feature debut from director Kane Parsons, Backrooms bends the liminal spaces that have haunted the internet for years into a horror film that's as mesmerizing as it is terrifying. Audience says, powered by a magnetic cast, Backrooms may oscillate between atmospheric allure and oniric disorientation, but Kane Pixel's spell remains undeniable. That is incredible. Critics' reviews: Johnny Oleksinski from New York Post gave it 3 out of 4 tomatoes, saying, even so, this is an undeniably exciting and actually quite sophisticated horror flick, and a fantastic bow for Parsons. Allison Wilmore from New York Magazine / Vulture gave it a tomato, saying it's haunting but also weirdly inviting, the kind of space you'd want to keep exploring, despite knowing better. It's just all the other stuff around it that needs work. Sarah Michelle Fetters from MovieFreak.com gave it a 3 out of 4 tomatoes, saying Parsons' film is a dynamic WTF spellbinder that isn't interested in providing straightforward answers. It doesn't want to make the viewer comfortable. That's not the agenda. That's not on the agenda. Sarah Heredia from Sensei Scene gave it 5 out of 5 tomatoes, saying Backrooms is a film to be swept away by the experience Parsons offers. Full review in Spanish. And then Desiree Defez from Fotogramas gave it 5 out of 5 tomatoes, saying Parsons masterfully translate the mystery, terror, deranged logic, and aesthetics of his videos, all available on YouTube, to the screen. The result is a masterful blend of horror and science fiction. Full review in Spanish. And Murray, the upcoming 4 out of 5 tomatoes, a haunting liminal horror that touches on themes of memory and trauma to eerie effect. Audience reviews: Julian gave it 1 star, saying definitely would have passed on this movie, waste of time and money. Wow. Athena R gave it 5 stars, saying amazing, strange, anxiety-inducing, and terrifying. Bryce gave it 4 stars, saying very intellectual, but meant to leave the audience a little confused to set up the next movie. Exactly. More disturbing than scary, something. Diego S gave it 5 stars, saying loved it, as a long time of Kane's was super hyped for this and left satisfied. Can't wait to see what he does next. Brian H gave it 4 stars, saying this is a pretty cool movie. As someone who was really in the Backrooms growing up, it was like an homage to my childhood. Caleb gave it 1 star, saying it was a very boring movie in my opinion, coming from someone who just knows about everything about the Backrooms. See, now, wow, well, what it really is going to do this. Some people who are probably creative people are going to see this idea and come up with their own idea and go, wow, the original creator is missing the a more genius invention or something that's missing, and this guy is seeing it in a different way. Maybe what Kane Parsons and A24 could do, or whatever the contract says, maybe they could contact this guy and anybody who has the same opinion as him and get his input for the next movie. Because if this is true, and this guy really is like a Backrooms expert, professional type of a person, then he should be part of that, the writing group or something for the next movie. And this guy would really be insightful. Like he would be like a walking, talking Wikipedia for Backrooms. I bet you he could probably, they could get a good idea. It's something that this guy thought of, and he goes, hey, I've always thought of this. And they would be like, what? Wow, Caleb, that is genius, So, I don't know. I bet you, That's a possibility. Okay, so those are all the new reviews of what people are saying for Backrooms. This is so cool. I think besides if the movie was good or bad, right? What I'm saying is just like it's important to keep that budget low and actually make some money. Like make a good product, but if you can't make a good product, but if you can't make an amazing one, at least make it have some quality in it. Something that that the budget can be low and you can make some money, and then basically like you'll create a possibility of if you take all of that away, all that stuff, it's a good or bad movie, take all of that away, this movie is a financial, a legendary story at this point. Like you would pass it on, do you know the Legends of the Backrooms budget? They'd be like, what? Or Backrooms? They'd be like, the movie? They'd be like, it was made for $10 million. And it made, almost 100 million or whatever. It's going to do a lot, and it's just hilarious because that is a good thing, take all of that stuff away. A24 acquired a YouTuber's idea and made a movie for $10 million. You know what I mean? And the same with Obsession and Curry Barker. This is really crazy, and it should be very threatening to hopefully Hollywood, because right here is one of your Hollywood actors in a movie that was made for $10 million. You know what I mean? And it's really crazy. It's insane that this guy played Mordor, for Marvel. This guy played, he played Mordo, right, in Doctor Strange or whatever, and he was a Marvel character, and he is now in a A24 movie that is, some people are saying, is competing against Hollywood, or I don't know, you know what I mean? If not that, then at least setting the standard for good, low budget, high grossing films, which is what it's supposed to be in the first place. You're not supposed to do a $150 million Star Wars movie and then hope to God it makes $500 million after you've alienated the fans and insulted people and just ruined their brand and made it for women and demonized men and white males and stuff and all of that and DEI stuff. It's just what are you, what I mean? Crazy. And it's insane that that's the reality of that. And then here is it actually posted it. This is a very rare, in a way, very rare thing that happens. $10 million budget. It is estimated though. And then opening it did 81. That is crazy. I can't even believe it. $118 million. It's just yeah. I mean, I think in this case, the movie part needs to be its own thing. Yes, judge the movie, critique the movie. But hey, also, by the way, this movie was made for $10 million and has made 118 or 80, or whichever number. Either one is good. Either way is good. And it happens to be the same number backwards, by the way. That is the most important part. This right here, that part is the most important part. I don't get it. Why couldn't Star Wars make that movie for $50 million? And then it makes $100 million, and now it's making money. Now it's a profitable Star Wars film. But nope, it couldn't do that. So sad. Yeah, in the end, Backrooms popped with an incredible $81 million domestic gross, and $118 million worldwide. And it came in, depending on what website you go to, first place and second place, or third place. Moving on to the Breadwinner. So this one came in 5th place and made 7 million. So it made 7 million domestic, nothing international, and overall it's 7 million. Pretty weird. It looked like a really kind of I guess inclusive sort of, not offensive family film. An hour and 40 minutes. Maybe it tried to compete with the other one. Sure. It looked, because that's an hour and 40 also. Yeah, that's kind of interesting that is the result. I think this is just a really weak script in a way. It's not really amazing. Even though I'm sure it's still, there's got to be something in it. It's got to be a bit entertaining at least. But it is nice that there is an option that, isn't offensive. It's for the family. So that's great. You gotta give this guy, a thank you for that. These people and the director. So we'll go down here and we'll read this summary. Reviewers say The Breadwinner delivers hilarious, family-friendly comedy that appears across all generations. Well, that's cool. With strong performances and genuine charm keeping audiences engaged. The humor consistently lands for both children and adults, creating memorable laugh-out-loud moments. However, some found the writing stale with cliched dialogue, while the treatment of family themes felt superficial to certain viewers. Well, that's probably the movie thing, since it's a movie, The emotional depth proved divisive, with some moved and some finding it lacking substance entirely. Wow. Well, that's interesting. Kind of definitely mixed on this film. 6.4 stars, though. Great first movie, so glad I convinced my mom to see this. It has 42 reviews. The first one is 9 out of 10. So glad I convinced my mom to see this. Hilarious, fun entertainment. Nate was so great throughout, and most of the movie is funny, which was so nice. Saw mid-afternoon. That was nice, especially how packed it was. Breadwinner was satisfying, but cheesy a little. Well-deserved of praise and high ratings. I love how their parts just me and my mom laughed at. Loved it all. See, that's what I'm expecting, overall for it to be. But darn that it didn't hit, So I don't know. 6 out of 10, a simple good time. The Breadwinner is exactly what it presents itself as, a warm, unpretentious family comedy that delivers modest pleasures without ever reaching beyond them. It is familiar territory handled competently, and for audiences seeking exactly that, it delivers with enough consistency to justify the runtime. Okay, that's good. Pete Bargatze's screen presence is the film's most interesting question and its most honest limitation. His stand-up persona, deadpan, self-deprecating, warmly hapless, is genuinely funny, but translating that to scripted performance reveals a gap between comedian and actor that the film never quite closes. That's interesting. Like, he's delivering it more of like stand-up rather than a father would say it, I guess. He is likable throughout without ever fully inhabiting the role in the way a more experienced screen performer might. The material does not always serve his particular strength, which in stand-up rely on timing and delivery rather than character construction. Material does not always serve his particular strengths. Okay, so it's a comedian, yeah. Okay, so it's a comedian trying to be a screen actor and act like a father, but he knows is how to be performative like a comedian. Now, that is something that this guy should have just gotten some coaching from like a veteran actor, there's a lot of like Dane Cook. He's done some movies, so he has some experience. I'm sure there's more, like Ricky Gervais, he does comedy and he does movie stuff. I'm sure there's a lot of people, but this guy didn't know anybody that he could have called up and been like, hey, I need some pointers. I'm having issues delivering my lines more as a father or whatever, right? And they would have figured it out and done that. And now Yeah, Colin Jost is in it. Couldn't this guy help? I don't think this guy does stand-up. He is on a comedy show. So it is kind of stand-up in a way with acting also. But he also does Weekend Update. So that is, I don't know if it's a real mix, but it feels like a mix, right? It is acting, but it's stand-up in a way, but it's jokes, you know? So yeah, but this guy could have given him some pointers, I think. Continuing, where the film finds its best moment in its supporting supporting ensemble, Colin Jost is a genuine bright spot. His portrayal of an awkward stay-at-home dad produces some of the film's most consistently funny material, and his chemistry with Bargatze gives these sequences an energy the central storyline occasionally lacks. Martin Harilli is similarly effective, contributing laughs that feel genuinely constructed rather than merely situational. The comedian ensemble surrounding Bargatze compensates considerably for the screenplay's tendency toward individual jokes that work better in isolation than as part of a sustained comedic whole. That's wow. That's interesting. The emotional beats are sweet and predictable in equal measure. The film gestures towards something generally about domestic labor and fatherhood without earning those gestures to anything sufficiently specific or surprising. The heart is present but assembled from familiar components, and the resolution lands without particular resonance. This is the kind of film you would watch comfortably with young children and enjoy without thinking about much afterward. It is not trying to be anything more than that, and on those terms, it succeeds well enough. Modest ambitions modestly achieved, which for a family comedy night is sometimes exactly what you need. This is a pretty good review. He definitely says some good points, and he didn't seem to say anything about like dirty jokes or anything, so that's good. Maybe there are. It is PG, which is okay, so that you do have some, some movement. You don't have to be completely, G-rated. So that's good. I think it makes it a little bit more realistic, 8 out of 10 winner in my eyes. Overall, it was a fun movie that included references to Nate's comedy. It shed a light on family and was overall a movie to give some laughs and get the family together. Nate's dry humor was the key to this movie. I would recommend this movie to anyone that wants a lighthearted comedy. It may not be the most realistic, but still a solid movie. 10 out of 10, hilarious. I watched this with my son, 11, and daughter, 12, almost 13. We were laughing the entire movie. We absolutely loved it. It's a good movie when you go through all of the funny parts on the drive back home. It was probably especially funny for us, since I think it was clear this was what might happen with me if I became a stay-at-home dad. Long and short, go see it. It's an awesome film. Well, yeah, that's, I like that one. 10 out of 10, funny, easy watch that really makes you laugh out loud. Fans love this movie. We love this movie as a family. Many laugh out loud moments, and truly good joke delivery. We were honored to have had this filmed in our neighborhood, and we enjoyed watching the scenes being made and meeting many of the cast, including Nate and Will. That is super cool. They were all lovely. Film was an easy, fun family movie that makes you laugh out loud. It's like putting Nate's stand-up into scenes you can visualize. Thank you for making this. See, that's a good point. See, it's supposed to be like that because, like Louis C.K. has his show, right? And he's done a few shows. Now he's a good example of that. Yeah, he would be able to give this guy, Nate Bargatze, a lot of, tips and stuff. Louis C.K. definitely has experience with that. That's pretty cool. But yeah, this is a good explanation of a lot of comedians explain, situations of going to an event and then he'll make it all funny, getting the kids in the car, getting there, checking in, and the punchline is they're closed, or whatever. Something like that, or they forgot the tickets at home. Whatever that is, whatever. But that is a good point as to like what this is, potentially like what it's trying to be. Basically, like visualization of his stand-up, right? As if, which might, maybe that goes back to him not, the acting thing that was brought up earlier. Maybe that helps that because again, like a movie, you either make it feel real or you obviously know it's a movie. So things feel more like a movie, right? Like exaggerated, maybe a fourth wall break, look at the camera, like for a second and, wink, stuff like that. And I feel like maybe it's fine that this guy is performing it like stand-up rather than an actor playing a father and doing it like that. So maybe that's fine because basically he's doing stand-up, except instead of seeing him on stage and you don't know what he's talking about, or I mean, you don't see what he's talking about. Now you get to actually see him in those situations doing stand-up. So maybe that is the point. And if you think about it like that, maybe it works, Maybe it works more like that, where it's basically what is like Key and Peele, that's funny. Key and Peele kind of does that. This could be compared to that, except like if Key and Peele, every scene they did of the movie is a skit, right? And it's cinematic. And they could make that into a movie. They'd be like, yeah, Key and Peele, the movie. And it's a movie about nothing, but it's all heightened and exaggerated and cinematic and all of that. That would be pretty cool. But that's what I think this is. Maybe that's what they're going for. But if you look at this movie like that, that could help you enjoy it, because people are saying it's, I guess, maybe the story is an issue, but I don't know. These people seem to be liking it, so that's interesting. It didn't do well. I don't know why. That's so strange, right? It looks like people are liking this. 8 out of 10, The Breadwinner. I mean, I don't know. Not gonna lie, I can see why critics are divided. Some of the dialogue drags. Okay, now this is gonna get into maybe the issues, but he still liked it. See, after even though it has issues, he still liked it. Some of the dialogue drags, and it definitely feels different from modern comedies. Wow. Well, that could be a good thing or a bad thing. I think it would be a good thing because you stand out. The stand-up stands out. But I had a blast. It gave me a little Miss Doubtfire energy with plenty of shady comments and clueless characters that made me laugh. Is Nate Bargatze the next Robin Williams? No. But the old school comedy charm is there, and I left the theater smiling. Well, then it did its job. I don't understand, I don't know, if this guy is hated, like James Gunn is 50-50, right? You got to give him his credit because he is doing comic stuff, right? Except it's strange, right? How he's doing it is weird, but he is doing it very well. He does respect the comics, he does like this stuff. He's a little strange about it, right? So I don't know. But, so it's kind of funny. But if this guy, genuinely wanted to make a nice family movie for his fans, that should be the most important part, Besides the budget, I think the budget was fairly low, I thought. 20 to 25 million. That's not terrible. If he financed it, now that would be pretty crazy. If you find out Nate Bargatze, he financed the whole thing, funded all of it, which is not a lot of money. Well, 20 million, 25 million. I'm sure he has it. And this is kind of low, it could make up its money if he decides to leave it here for a month or two. This could make up its money. But again, though, I'm sure this would do better on streaming. So yeah, I don't know, but people need to like, yeah, give it. If I don't know if this guy like did something to ruin it, like Millie Alcock saying those things, Rachel Zegler saying her things. If this guy came out and said something like, hey, my movie is for rich people, all his fans would be like, what? Like you would turn on this guy if he said something like that, right? Oh, I don't know. It's kind of funny, but I really think like it looks like this guy really set out to make a nice movie. And I mean, it looks like he kind of did it though. The critics are divided. See, the main people, we'll read them in a second. Their Rotten Tomatoes views. But yeah, so I don't know. Some of the dialogue drags. That is interesting because he is a writer, is he not? So it's kind of surprising. And I think didn't he write it with someone? So it's not just him. If the other guy didn't say, hey, Nate, I fixed up a couple of scenes where the dialogue drags. I kind of tightened them up as well as added some breaks in the dialogue with a humor, or I added something going on in the background to kind of lighten the mood or whatever, right? And it seems like that didn't happen. The other guy didn't come back. He didn't read the script and say, hey, Nate, I fixed some stuff. He said, hey, everything's fine. Let's film the movie. Like even though he probably knew that he said, hey, this scene kind of drags. Unless he didn't, which would qualify him as a bad writer, right? He read this scene and he was literally like, yeah, this is great. Even though, the critics noticed those scenes and said, God, okay, come on. So that means that, I mean, maybe Nate wanted those scenes and the other guy didn't know that they're dragging scenes. Which means they like Nate wrote it because that's what he wanted. He wanted that. And the other guy said, hey, for the audience, it's paced wrong. It's not whatever. I didn't even realize that. So that means the other guy isn't as talented as Nate Bargatze, obviously, is. He wrote this thing. So that's pretty interesting. It definitely feels different from modern comedies, which I think that's fine. The old school comedy charm is there. I mean, yeah, that's awesome. Like Spider Noir, it doesn't look like today's stuff. And that's awesome. It's like everybody has to make stuff that looks like everything else. You have to make it stand out in some way. You can't just, you have to do what sells, but you can't do everything that sells because that's copying, or you if you do, you got to make it, not obvious, but you can't be the same. You got to do stuff slightly different. Include all the beats and the points and the requirements, but move them around and do it differently. So yeah, anyway, this is pretty good. I'll read a few more and then we'll check out Rotten Tomatoes. Let's see, 9 out of 10, great film for everyone. This movie had laughs all around for the entire family. To go see something in theaters that my 8-year-old, my teenagers, my wife and I, and even my 70-year-old mom enjoyed is truly a rare thing these days. Exactly. Don't sleep on this movie. Is it groundbreaking cinema? No, but it's a great family film that is rewatchable and feels classic in way many movies don't feel today. This is what Hollywood needs right now. See, that's awesome. 7 out of 10, better than the Metacritic score. 10 out of 10, what comedy should be these days. 8 out of 10, enjoyed Nate's first movie. Well, that's interesting. If he continues down this road, and hopefully he reads all of this, hopefully he reads everything, and he goes, okay, I got it. Boom. And he does his next movie, it's going to be way better. Like Curry Barker's next movie and Kane Pixel's next movies are going to be even better than Obsession and whatever, Backrooms. So that's great. Guy says he definitely recommends it. 9 out of 10, 8 out of 10, 8 out of 10, 10 out of 10. All right, well, that's great. Here are the Rotten Tomatoes for The Breadwinner. There's that critic splat. It is at 21% with 86% from the audience. I don't understand that. Why? I know a critic is, critique. I get that, but I think like you need to put your filters down and be like, oh, okay. Or have two reviews, Base it on like Kurt Vonnegut's, his template, right? Or his stuff. But also, grade it and rate it in the way of like what this guy envisioned and what he tried to do and what he did for the obvious 86% from the audience. There's a reason, it's obviously liked, even though it has some issues, right? So I don't know. I don't think I don't know. I feel like the critics should have two ratings. The main rating, the Kurt Vonnegut rating, and then they have their, personal rating, or because like every bad movie has good stuff in it. And that's why I do my podcast, Good or Good Enough. Some movies, not all movies are bad, right? That's what I like. Even movies are bad, they're still good enough, right? They still have good stuff in them. And I really feel like these people should have two reviews. So anyway, what to know? Let's see, critics' consensus. And as unlikely to ruffle any feathers as it is to drum up many laughs, The Breadwinner's half-baked jokes turn Nate Bargatze's avatar of the befuddled patriarch into one stale oaf. I don't understand that. It sounds like that is what he went for. Maybe not entirely, but obviously he sat there and wrote this stuff. So he had something in mind. He had a vision in mind. Are the critics' reviews? Odie Henderson from Boston Globe gave it 1.5 out of 4 splats, saying The Breadwinner thinks big laughs should come from scenes where a father doesn't know a damn thing about his kids. But that's yes, it's not realistic, but it's that joke. It's more of like a trope, right? It's the forgetful father trope, I guess. And you could come up with new stuff, but if it's classic stuff, then, it's classic stuff. It's cheesy, corny dad joke, material. Matt Zoller Zeitz from RogerEbert.com gave it a splat, 0.5 out of 4. These sorts of movies do more damage to the culture than any bloody horror flick you can name because they make the unforgivable adorable. That's so weird. These sorts of movies do more damage to the culture than any bloody horror flick you can name. More damage? Maybe in like it not being creative, or I guess in that regard, or in that area. But I don't know. It just seems like that's the point. Peter Travers from the Travers Take gave it 1.5 out of 4 splats, saying stand-up's comedy king of clean. Oh, so his thing is clean jokes then. Well, I didn't know that. So he doesn't do dirty jokes then? Really? Well, wow. I wonder if that's true. That's funny. Stand-up's comedy king of clean, Nate Bargatze's riffs on Mr. Mom for his screen acting debut. He deserves better than this phoned-in excuse for family fun. So do audiences. Phoned in? I feel like that's the point. I don't know. That's hilarious. Dustin Rowles from Pajiba gave it a splat, saying maybe Nate Bargatze is a huge arena act. Maybe he was decent a couple of times on SNL, and maybe he's a terrifically nice guy. But the man is the absolute pits at co-writing and starring in his first feature film. Well, then if he co-wrote it, then maybe he gets less blame. You know what I mean? Yeah, I don't know. That's funny. Eric Childress from Movie Madness Podcast gave it 0 out of 4 splats, saying it behooves one while watching this pathetic Mr. Mom copy to just imagine everyone in it as aliens who have studied only lame sitcom material, or just Bargatze's stand-up to justify their idiotic behavior. Jesus. And then Brogan Luke Bohwis from But Why Though gave it 2 out of 10 splats, saying Bargatze doesn't or just can't manage any of the charisma, energy, or timing that has made him such an incredible success on the stand-up circuit. And audience reviews, Jeremy J gave it 4 stars, saying solid feel-good comedy, family comedy. I was surprised how well the daughters did, carrying many comedic and emotional scenes or moments. Elizabeth Belly gave it 5 stars, saying clean, funny humor, acting was good. That's awesome. Arthur G gave it 4 stars, saying good humor, good life lessons, and messages you won't mind attending with your kids or your aging parents. Jennifer Hoffman gave it 4.5 stars, saying loved it, relatable. Steven gave it 4 stars, saying in spite of a few slow moments, we laughed more at this movie than anything we've watched in a long time. Well, okay. Carrie P gave it half a star. This movie was slightly funny. The trailers were the funniest part, plus the after movie credit. There's an after credit scene. Okay, so the Breadwinner. It looks like it is, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, it seems to be liked and all of that, which is a good thing, but not by the critics, of course. Here are some of the numbers. Yeah, so 7 million it made. It flopped with 7 million. It looks like it's doing good. In a way, 7 million. I don't know. It might be tough. I mean, good on the leaderboard. I mean, number 5 or 6, whatever it was. That's so interesting. It is really awesome that at least it got, people are seeing it. That's good. So, and for him, if you see this, now you're going to be like, wow, he's getting in the movies, and he's definitely going to do more, I think that he could definitely do, you have good luck with a Christmas movie, just a loving Christmas film, and there's a ticking time bomb of, hurry up before Christmas, right? Or before Christmas Eve, whatever. You set all of that up. Maybe like the mom, it could even be a sequel to this or something. The mom she did it again, and she's coming back this time, and he has 25 days to fix whatever's going on, and that's the premise, and it ends with a big, beautiful Christmas ending, and a punchline probably, and the X factor will be all of the emotional family stuff in it, and he could up it a little bit by adding more emotional stuff of like, his daughter gets mad at him and he has to patch up that relationship. We're very important, and maybe he's trying to help out a neighbor who is an alcoholic or something, or whatever, right? Or maybe somebody comes back into his life that an old friend, and he needs to help them. And what does he do? Stuff like that, and set up, and that could be pretty cool. So yeah, the Breadwinner flopped with 20 million, the Breadwinner flopped with 7 million, but it came in 5th place. Pressure is the 3rd film that came out. It made 5 million domestic, nothing international, 5 million total. Very bizarre. It's PG-13, and it's an hour and 40 minutes. Tried to compete with Nate Bargatze, but in a different category. And it's PG-13. That's pretty cool. I really thought this would have done better because, I thought that, what's his name? Brendan Fraser is kind of a bigger draw, but I guess he's not. The budget, I don't know if it was here. It said maybe $30 to $50 million range based on the cast. So But it made, yeah, yeah, it's gonna be tough for it to make its money back. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how long it's. Even if they left it here for the whole month, it's definitely not going to turn out well. So yeah, let's go down and check the comments. It has 7.7 stars. That's cool. The AI summary says Pressure delivers phenomenal performances, particularly from Andrew Scott and Brendan Fraser, with palpable dramatic tension that makes weather forecasting genuinely suspenseful. Wow. That's a good skill, you know what I mean? The powerful musical score elevates conference room scenes into urgent cinematic moments. But, however, the film divides audiences on pacing, some finding it too slow, even for an hour and 40 minutes. Others others too rushed, while the writing receives mixed reactions, ranging from smart to melodramatic. Character portrayals spark debate, with some praising nuanced leadership depictions, while others criticize certain figures as caricatures. So that could be like whoever wrote it maybe didn't really study, anything about Dwight D. Eisenhower, right? And Stagg, right? Yeah, Dwight Eisenhower and then James Stagg. Who else is in any big names? I mean, yeah, that would have been the thing that whoever wrote it should have studied up on Eisenhower or history, right? I'm sure there's enough descriptions of all this guy, everything, right? As well as documentaries and all of that stuff. And I think since this movie is based off of history and all that, these guys will be critiqued harder in a way because there's a lot of historians, and history enthusiasts, people who watch documentaries, like people do superhero films, or, they go golf. People are in the history, and in sci-fi too. If you make realistic sci-fi, you're going to get critiqued by scientists and people in that area, in that field. And I think that these guys, that if these two didn't call up people, historians, if there's any descendants of Eisenhower or Stagg still alive, they could have asked him to be in the movie to make a cameo, as somebody who hands somebody a paper. That would have been great. And then study up on the character, watch a lot of stuff, and write a good script, and write a compelling, not a caricature, right? Not a reference to the guy, the actual person, right? The Eisenhower, right? Like, I don't know how they did Lincoln with Spielberg, I think, and what's his name? Daniel Day-Lewis. I don't know how they did that, if they studied, because that would have been harder to do. But you could have gotten, if you do some digging and some research, you can definitely create a character that Lincoln would probably have been like. He had a high voice. He stood, what I mean? There's enough that you could create a character that is probably what he would have been like if he existed. And there was footage of the guy. And yeah, so I really think that these two, if it's not written well, they have no excuse. They have zero excuse for this to be written poorly. There's no excuse. You'd be like, then why are you a writer? Why are you writing historical films? You know what I mean? Like, it's either you follow history and reality, or you make up a thing in name only. This is a movie about D-Day, on Mars, and Eisenhower has laser eyes and can fly. Okay, so it's not realistic, and then you go, wow, these guys can really write because this is made up. It's fine. It's acceptable because it's not real. Right. Pressure has 44 reviews. 9 out of 10, a small piece of unnoticed history, so detrimental in the history of the war. Now, that's another thing is that this movie is apparently it's stuff that no one knows or whatever about what actually happened, right? So, I mean, if we really don't know and they made it up based off of like hearsay or something, which I doubt, then maybe it's okay. But if there is already a lot of, documents and I don't know, testify, whatever, like statements made or interviews made from the people there, then that should have been studied and that should have been written into the script. And if that's the issue, it sounds like that could be a problem because it's like this is the first time we're hearing this, right? Like this is unknown information until today or something, which is another reason why this movie should be seen and why it should have done better. Because it's like it's based off of something that happened, and it's interesting to find out something that happened that nobody knew about, whether the movie's interesting or whatever, blah, blah, blah. It's still also the fact that like, wow, I didn't know that that's what went on that day. That's pretty insane, like with 9/11, like with Valkyrie. I guess Valkyrie is a better, kind of, I guess. I guess it's not the best example, but something that was more unknown, like another Operation Valkyrie, where there was another time where they tried to take out Hitler that no one knows about. See, that is what this would be. It's like, wait, what? There was another attempt at taking out Hitler? So I feel like that is another angle that this movie, or another thing that this movie is covering, is the fact that it's also presenting you with, hey, did you know what actually happened that day with the weather or whatever? Okay, well, you don't? Well, this is going to be insane. You better take a seat for an hour and 40 minutes. Okay, are you ready? And then that happens in the movie. So, yeah, that is funny that it's actually based off of, it's stuff that we don't know about. And that would have been, I don't know, maybe they're critiquing it in the way of like, they don't know. But it turns out that's the actual truth. That is what happened. And this guy did write it good. He did write it in a fine way. Yeah, so a small piece of unnoticed history, so detrimental in the history of war. Yeah, that's very important. Pressure review. Some historical dramas overwhelm audiences with sprawling battle scenes and military strategy. Pressure takes a completely different approach, focusing on the intense 72 hours leading up to D-Day and the crucial weather forecast that helped determine the fate of one of history's most important military operations. Wow. I mean, see, that's what I'm saying. What sounds like a small footnote in World War II history becomes a gripping, emotionally powerful thriller that never lets go of your attention. At the center of the film is Andrew Scott as meteorologist James Stagg, and his performance is nothing short of extraordinary. Scott, who recently delivered one of television's finest performances in Ripley. Wow, I watched some of that, which is also black and white, by the way. Once again proves he is one of the most compelling actors working today. Stagg is an outsider among military leaders, a serious and reserved man carrying the burden of a decision that could affect thousands of lives. While others dismiss him or mock his lack of camaraderie, Scott makes every moment riveting. He conveys the immense pressure of a man whose scientific judgment could determine success or catastrophe. It is an Oscar-worthy performance and one of the year's best. Sounds really cool. Brendan Fraser initially seems like an unusual choice to play Dwight Eisenhower, and at first his appearance can be somewhat distracting. However, Fraser quickly settles into the role and delivers a strong, thoughtful portrayal of the Allied commander. It is wonderful to see Fraser continue his career resurgence, especially given the many twists and turns his professional journey has taken over the years. Damian Lewis brings a distinctive interpretation to Field Marshal Bernard Montgomery, occasionally sounding as if he is channeling David Niven, but he captures Montgomery's confidence and exemplifies effectively. Well, this sounds like this guy knows who. I guess this is one of the characters, right? So if in the documentary this guy is interviewed or whatever, right? Or he still exists, maybe today he's still alive, then this guy obviously knows who he is, and this guy likes history. This reviewer, and so yeah, he like that, and then he obviously knows that this guy Brendan Fraser doesn't maybe look like Eisenhower, doesn't move like him, doesn't do an impersonation of him, or doesn't do makeup or anything. I think Christian Bale played Dick Cheney, right? But under makeup. And the guy from Watchmen who played Nixon, under makeup. And it's like that. It's like if you can do the voice. Like same with Daniel Day-Lewis who did Lincoln. He had a lot of prosthetics, I believe. But he did the rest of it, and altogether, boom. That creates a whole character. But yeah, this guy obviously knows who these people are, and yeah, he's definitely liking that. The film's central conflict revolves around competing meteorological forecasts and the difficult choices they force upon military leaders. What could have been dry technical discussions become edge-of-your-seat drama. The screenplay also wisely reminds us of the human side of the story through Steg's concern for his pregnant wife waiting at home. One particularly fascinating aspect is the opening sequence involving a little-known rehearsal operation that even a World War II expert I attended the screening with had never heard about. He went with an expert. Wow. Yeah, this is a real thing that happened, I believe. The film constantly uncovers overlooked corners of history that deserve greater attention. Yeah, I feel like that is the whole point of this movie, which, it's really not expensive. It's not $100 million. So, I feel like, the price isn't bad for the movie, and all the other maybe kind of issues, whatever. I think the real important point of this film is to really highlight what went on that day. Maybe even to highlight and give the spotlight to James Stagg, but definitely to give flowers and respect and all of that to what actually happened that day. It continues saying, when the long-awaited invasion finally arrives, pressure becomes unexpectedly emotional. The D-Day sequences are deeply moving and serve as a sobering reminder of the sacrifice made by thousands of young men. I found myself welling up as the reality of what they faced came into focus. By the end, the film has transformed a story about weather reports into a profound tribute to courage, responsibility, and history itself. Pressure earns a strong 9 out of 10. It shines a light on remarkable individuals whose contributions have largely been forgotten outside dedicated World War II circles. See, again, this is connected to that. See this film not only for its outstanding performances, especially Andrew Scott's. Yeah, I bet you, maybe Brendan Fraser is just too distracting because it's him, This guy isn't too known in a way. Yeah, so this says, but also to learn an important chapter of history that deserves to be remembered. All right, well, that's really awesome. Yeah, this seems like a pretty believable and, pretty, explained review of the film. I think if anyone's going to go see this film, right here, this one should be what you use to decide. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. I really feel like, this is PG-13 and it's an hour and 40 minutes. Why aren't they doing movie bundles? Why don't they do the Breadwinner and Pressure? Yes, they have nothing to do with each other, but it would help get people to go to the movie. You know what I mean? Like, do a double feature film, The Breadwinner and Pressure, and because they're both not rated R, you know what I mean? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, anyway, that's pretty good. 8 out of 10, 1 out of 10, a historical trash. I will read this one. A historical garbage, a complete waste of talent and money. Could have been good. They could have played it straight and had movie that might endure. Instead, just more melodramatic trash. Claims to be a true story. Sure, they had a difficult call to make on the day of the landings, but beyond that, the movie just is a harsh of events and drama that didn't happen. How do you know? What? Now, this is something that, if this is a real person and all that, they should expand on that. This guy should sit here and actually go through and pick out what is true and isn't true, or whatever, because this guy would have pointed those things out. And yeah, so I don't know. This could be fake, or, whatever, or a troll or whatever, because I think this guy actually watched the movie, and I think he saw what this guy is saying. The Rotten Tomatoes for Pressure, it has 88%. Wow, from the critics. Why isn't it doing any better? What in the world? $5 million? At least it came in 8th place, right? At least it's on the box, like in the top 10. I said it was going to be top 20 and make 30 million. Okay, well, but 95% certified, verified hot, right? Okay, so that's that. Certified fresh from the critics. This is so complex. The whole rating system on RT, it's so much. Again, I believe that this is, more believable and realistic than IMDb, I guess, maybe. But wow, why isn't it performing better? Shouldn't it have at least made 10 million? Shouldn't it have at least made 20 million to justify it being liked on both sides? Was that it? Wait, but this is good, right? That's what it's saying, right? Verified hot. That's good, right? I think the other one is spilled green, whatever that is. Let's see. Critics' consensus: finding a fresh angle. No one of the most dramatized days in military history. Pressure is a brainy war film that delivers most of its thrills from Andrew Scott's simmering performance. That is great. I mean, at least there's a really good thing in the movie. Audience says Brendan Fraser or Fraser. Tough name. I sound like I'm saying Fraser. What's his name? Kelsey Grammer, right? I think that's his name. And Andrew Scott are just as fierce as the storms and pressure and intensity day drama that sharply captures a pivotal life stakes moment in history. Critics reviews Phillip de Semmelin from Time Out gave it 4 out of 5 tomatoes, saying Pressure is less of a traditional war flick and a satisfying chamber piece about how people use and communicate information when the stakes are sky high and groupthink is kicking in. Your dad already has his ticket booked. Thelma Adams from AARP Movies for Grown-Ups gave it 5 out of 5 tomatoes, saying we all know how it turned out, but Pressure cranks up the dramatic stress in a character-driven saga that retells a lesser-known side of a monumental moment in military history. Smashing. Katie Wass from Tribune News Service gave it a tomato, saying Pressure is skillfully directed, sweeping us into this world with a kind of addictive immediacy. Tara McNamara gave it, from Comments Says Media, gave it 4 out of 5 tomatoes, saying this gripping lesson is leadership is a bombshell, hinging on a D-Day factoid that doesn't even make most history books. Oh, okay. But ultimately had an enormous impact on the war's outcome. I see. So that's what it's saying. Yeah, it has an important point to this movie. Jeremy Johns from JeremyJohns.com. Oh, I never read this guy's reviews. That's cool. Gave it a tomato, saying the bouncing back and forth between recreation and old war footage makes the recreation just feel more legit. That's great. That is hilarious to see him here. Audience reviews, Dennis S. gave it 5 stars, saying the movie is very well done. There's a lot of historical facts and the filming is outstanding. I do have to say that Lori gave it 5 stars, saying you don't have to be a historian to enjoy this movie. Both acting and directing were inspirational. Zach gave it 5 stars, saying when I heard about this movie, I had to go see it myself because my grandfather was a D-Day veteran for the Army Airman, and awesome. Dana H. gave it 3 out of 5 tomatoes, saying almost inevitably predictable. Oh, stupid! Oh, we all know how it's going to turn out. Come on. The challenge being to make the story, the little story more engaging than the big story that is trying to talk about whatever. That's so stupid. That's exactly what I said. This isn't a typical movie. This guy isn't going to have a character arc and he's going to change, or whatever. This happened. Some guy literally just recreated history. That's what happened. Like what I said on Friday in my other video is that if you don't know anything about Operation Valkyrie, you're going to go see that movie and you're going to be rooting for Tom Cruise to take out Hitler. And then the big twist is it doesn't happen because that's how it happened. The table shields Hitler from the explosion of the briefcase bomb. How it's either historical and it's based off of history and facts, or it's not. It's a fantasy. You're going to be like, oh, I hope Tom Cruise does it. I hope he does it. And then it does. And the table doesn't shield Hitler and the bomb takes out Hitler and we win. Except if you know history, you know how Hitler actually died and it wasn't that day. I don't get it. I think this is just, it's a predictable movie. One star. Are you an idiot? Do you know? It's about what we don't know. Everybody is learning stuff from this movie, except you. Did you pay attention? Did you read, if you read history and you saw that, it's like, whoa, I didn't know this. You'd be like, what? But this guy obviously doesn't know anything about history or I don't know, because he knows that it's predictable. So he knows something. This guy knows something about D-Day and what happened, and he missed the obvious point of what this movie is highlighting. I mean, I don't get it. This guy should have read some things and then been like, oh, I didn't get that. I was going to trash this movie. Okay, I get it. Let me delete. Okay, let me write again. And then now he's going to give it 5 stars. He's going to say, I was going to trash this movie until I used my head. and then I realized, okay, this is a good movie. I don't know. And the ratings contradict what this guy is saying. Predictable? That is hilarious. Oh, 9/11, the movie. It's so predictable. Yes, it's based off of what happened. This is hilarious. I don't know what to say. That's pretty funny. All right. Well, anyways, in conclusion for Pressure, it looks, I don't know why it's performing so low. Solo, which made Bad, one of Disney's lowest grossing films. I don't know why it's not doing better. 8th place is not terrible. That's awesome. I'm so confused. Yeah, why 5 million? 5 million? Why? Here, I'll play this in the background while I talk. $5 million it made. I hope that budget is low. I mean, do you think it would have been lower if Brendan Fraser wasn't attached? Right? Would that have affected anything at all? Is what's his name? The other guy, is he expensive? Andrew Scott, is he expensive or something? No. Anyway, so yeah, it's kind of funny. I don't know if this is gonna be able to make up its money, but yeah, this movie Pressure looks like it could turn out well, but we'll see. But so far, it did flop with $5 million, but it did come in 8th place. Okay, so Backrooms popped with an absolutely incredible $81 million opening. domestic and $118 million worldwide or international. Pretty awesome. Absolutely insane. You know, congratulations to A24. A big congratulations to Kane Parsons. And it's so insane. Him and Curry Barker both displaced a Star Wars movie. That is absolutely crazy. Pretty cool. People are liking it. I think people are divided on the end. But again, I think that is because A24 lets the artist be the artist, and you know, with little, I think zero interference, no direction, no control, none of that. And I think what's left over is literally, you know, the artist, you know, and even the flaws, because there was a professional writer involved, and I think that they just said, hey, you know, Kane Parsons, just, you know, if you have any questions, come ask me, but write it, and just write the whole thing. Because there's the therapist scene could have been changed up a bit, even though I think everything is on purpose, you know. And then the end isn't entirely satisfying, I guess. But I think that's because it's the first movie. I don't think we want to know everything yet. And if you watch the explanation videos, you already kind of know what this is about. I really think that it doesn't really matter. I think they left it all on purpose, because obviously Kane Parsons is going to keep going, and he's going to eventually make better film, then make an incredible film. And, you know, yeah, just add to his resume of Backrooms being his first incredible movie. Just absolutely insane how this movie is performing at the box office. Backrooms made it. It popped with incredible $81 million domestic, $118 million international or worldwide. It's going to keep going. I wonder what it's going to end at. 300 million? 250? 400? I don't know. But yeah, it popped with 81 million and came in, I guess, depending on what website you go to, first or second place, maybe even third place. And then Nate Bargatze's The Breadwinner is kind of struggling with the story. But I don't know. It's performing low. I feel like it should have made a little bit more. But yeah, it's not doing well. 7 million seems weird. It is in the top 5, or number 5, or number 6 to be exact. So that is really good. There's, I guess, kind of a few problems, whatever. But again, I think it's on purpose. I mean, it's corny dad jokes. It's for the kids. It's for the family. Apparently, Nate Bargatze's comedy is pretty clean. I'm not really familiar with him, but I think that's really awesome. Obviously, he wanted to make a family kids movie, whatever, for everyone. And I think it's really needed to have contrast with the current films that are at the theaters. Yeah, it's pretty cool that he decided to do this. I think that he'll hopefully, if he reads all the comments and stuff, and I mean, it's up to him or not, to change it in the next film that he does. Then the next one will probably do possibly better. I think he needs to do a Christmas film. I think this guy could do an absolutely hilarious Christmas movie, and then, or any Thanksgiving for a change, that could be a fun one. And then the premise is the same. The mom is coming home. They have 25 days to get everything fixed. They have whatever days till an event or whatever. And then it's a premise, and they could have a lot of fun with that. And I think he could also maybe make it a little bit more emotional, maybe put more of a mature storyline for a kid. Maybe, I don't know if it's too touchy, but like a first love, or a big presentation, or a speech for graduation that he has to do, and he overcomes his fear, and it ends on a happy note. Yeah, so stuff like that. It's pretty awesome. I think that this guy will continue to do this. I think that this is pretty decent film, I guess. It's, yeah, I mean, what can you do? You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, so I think he did well with what he ended up with. So the Breadwinner did flop with an unfortunate $7 million. The budget is kind of low. It might be able to make that up. We'll see. It definitely needs to stay there for the full 4 weeks or more. But it did, luckily, come in 5th place. And Pressure, I guess, didn't do as well as expected. I said it was going to do 30 million, but being a top 20, which it is, I thought that this would do a bit better because Nuremberg was like 3 hours. Oppenheimer is rated R and it's very long. Napoleon is rated R and it's changed a few things. Pressure, I really thought it would do better. Maybe it will pick up. That's possible because it's based off of history and it's about stuff that we don't know about. And I think that one comment from Rotten Tomatoes was like, "Oh, it's predictable." Really? Yeah, it's predictable. It's based off of history, you know? And I think that's such a dumb thing to say about this movie. It's so dumb. Yeah, Valkyrie, it's so predictable, you know? Like, yeah, really funny. I think people should have done some research before watching the movie, as well as before commenting on the final movie if you didn't understand it, you know, or missed the point entirely. So people are liking it, I guess. They really like the performances. The guy who plays General Stagg, Andrew Scott plays James Stagg. People really like his performance, so that's awesome. But Pressure flopped with an unfortunate $5 million. I don't think it's going to be able to make up its possible $40 to $50 million budget. Even if it stayed for the full 4 weeks, it would definitely be better on streaming. But it did come in 8th place. And then here are the next films we will be checking out. The numbers.com is down for some reason. I'm not able to I've accessed them on a different computer and it came up. But on this computer, it seems to not load. So I don't know what's going on. I Google searched it and they are going through some type of maintenance, whatever. So I'm forced to use this. I gotta say, less in comparison to the numbers.com, Box Office Mojo. It's really, I don't know. It's just, I don't know why, you don't want to copy the numbers. Yeah, but you could at least include how they do their thing, you know? I love the numbers. I just like how laid out it is, how simple it is, whatever. And, this is kind of messy in a way, and it doesn't seem to be accurate at all. On there, I didn't see the currents. This might have been added, I guess. I don't know. But on the numbers, I saw Power Ballad, Scary Movie, and Master of the Universe. But now it's got this, the currents, which I don't get that because all of a sudden you'll look on the numbers.com and it'll have not the currents, for example. And I don't get that. So yeah, these are the movies that we will be checking out in the next show. I guess Power Ballad. I guess that is that Nick Jonas and Paul Rudd movie. Seems so random. And then, which is probably, honestly, probably going to bomb. It's probably going to flop like a dead fish. The Currents is also a film that is going to be coming out, which I do not know anything about. And then down here is Scary Movie, which is finally here. I can't believe it. It's going to be so cool. Scary Movie 6, which is what I think they did with Scream. Scream is technically, what is it? Scream 6 or something? Or 7 maybe? I don't know. 7. Because the next one is Scream 8. But this one is just Scary Movie, which I think this VI could technically be changed to the Roman numeral for 6. And then I think that could work. And then the other film, which is apparently going to not do well, is Masters of the Universe. But we'll see. I don't know why. The marketing is a little weird. I'm seeing it everywhere, and I'm interested in it. I think it's going to be pretty cool. I saw a clip earlier that was kind of mixed because somebody said they're doing that Marvel humor, and I hope that's not true. I mean, I hate, I don't know, like the serious guy, and then the guy over here that doesn't like take it serious and laughs at everything, whatever. We've seen that, and I wish, they'd play it straight and normal or whatever and take it serious and then let us laugh, say stuff serious and let us decide what's funny, rather than go laugh at this. We're making a joke. We're being funny. Laugh. Like Trained Seals, or like the TV show, back in the day, the filming, applause, applause now. It's like, what? But anyway, I don't know. Yeah. So Master of the Universe scary movie, the Currents and Power Ballad will be the films that we will check out in the next episode. Okay, so that wraps up this episode of Mike on Mike. Those are all the films that popped or flopped. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Thank you to the numbers, thenumbers.com, the RottenTomatoes.com, and this box office mojo, I guess, since I have no choice. Really appreciate it. Leave a comment down below about what you thought of these films, and I will see you in the next episode. Peace.